Hello, everybody. Worlds is done and over with, which means that off season is now a thing. Players are gone back home, very likely, taking a second look at their contract, relaxing before the next season comes and hits them upside the head. And so, I mean, if you're in China, you kind of don't have that much time because you have to be focusing on the next big thing, and that's the NEST. Now, four teams, of course, have qualified. They're going to be playing tomorrow. The online qualifiers happened just before the play-in stage for Worlds. It featured all of the Worlds teams except for RNG because RNG FF'd out of it quite early. A few teams did that just because, like for Vici, is a good example of them just wanting a vacation after taking the victory in LSPL and qualifying for the LPL. So they thought it was a good time for them to just say, hey, you know what? We don't need to take this tournament. You guys have done a good job, and to move on to the next stage. RNG, they're focused solely towards the World Championships, and they wanted to hide a bit of their strategy. Makes a lot of sense. So wait on until then. WE and EDG, on the other hand, wanted to play through it. They ended up losing out. EDG lost to Jingdong 2-0, and WE lost 2-1 to Snake Esports. Both teams, of course, moving on to the next stage. Spoiler alert, the four teams that ended up taking it are IG, Snake, LGD, and Jingdong. Which, I mean, if you paid attention to the last NEST, this is pretty much the exact same like amount of teams that went through. The only difference is, of course, Jingdong and RNG were switched up. RNG went in there the last time around. RNG didn't have a chance to make it the exact same picture. If they had actually gone through entirely, they would have beaten out LGD. So yeah, that was just a bit of a dream. But yeah, let's kind of hit this a little bit harder. Tomorrow, the first set is going to be IG versus Snake, which is interesting seeing the two of the strongest teams so far in the top four go up against each other. Thankfully, it is a double elimination bracket. NEST usually have best of threes, so you're going to be expecting best of three double elim, which means that you don't have that much time to really get a read on your opponents. Maybe think you can put in a second player. I know IG likes to swap up their top laners, Duke and the Shy. Both of them have different play styles. They've been kind of mixing and matching in terms of champions very recently, but the Shy and Ning they play a lot more closely together because the Shy wants to look for those split pushing opportunities. Duke is a better team fighter. I mean, even though like we've even seen the Shy very recently try and team fight with tanks like Cho'Gath, and he's kind of faltered quite a bit, lose focus in team fights, lose positioning in team fights. So you would much rather put Duke in those positions, in those situations, and you would much rather put the Shy in split pushing situations. So if I were to immediately hit this matchup, Snake is a team that, sure, they went into the playoffs in the LPL summer, but they got it kicked out quite quickly. They were a team that couldn't find stability throughout the entire 2017 season. After they lost Mo, their support, they took a lot of time to finally find something they were comfortable with because, you lose Mo, suddenly you have Crystal OQ bottom lane because Crystal was playing support at the time, and sure, he was pretty damn good on Thresh. So you saw a lot of Lee Sin Thresh combinations coming to the team. They still weren't finding victories. They still needed a career support to play the game with a team. And they were looking. They ended up finding Hoodie, so very likely you're going to be seeing Snake come into this best of five with Flandre top lane, SOFM jungle, Zatai mid lane, and of course in the bottom lane Crystal and Hoodie, especially with OQ announcing that he's no longer with the team. So that is what's interesting me, is that Snake are coming in with a stable roster for the first time in a very long time. IG, I mean, they're sticking with this roster throughout the summer split. Only real acquisition that they made was Ning coming into the team in the jungle lineup, and he's really meshed well with the team. His playstyle on Young Miracle was already playing towards their mid laner, so it was a very natural playstyle for him. and he now gets to have a strong top laner to go through. So it made a lot of sense for him to mesh with the team. And the bottom lane, of course, was West and Baolan / Megan. West and Megan started out very weak. Megan was known early on in the split for being a strong roamer. He would roam towards the mid lane. He would have a lot of impact on the rest of the map and leave his AD carry out to dry. West has some experience with that when he was on Game Talents. And so there was a few questions as to West's strength, if he was a good AD carry. As the split went on in the summer, he really ramped up along with Megan. They started to have some really strong laning phases, taking victories off of WE. And honestly, IG, on a better day, they would have went to Worlds. They beat WE in the third place matchup in the LPL summer playoffs. And then they lost in a full 5-game series in the regional finals. So it's tough for them, but you really have to favor IG going into this series and, spoiler alert, in the tournament itself. I mean, in this series specifically, I favor top lane for IG. I mean, sure, Flandre has really been ramping it up, but the Shine, Duke, they are still better players to me. Go towards the mid lane. Rookie is the strongest mechanical mid laner in the LPL. I know there's a lot of hype around Xiaohu and around Scout. Xiaohu, of course, taking LPL Summer Split MVP, and Scout taking the Finals MVP. But Rookie just had problems with his teams finding consistency throughout splits. So, yeah, I mean, he looked like a god when he was into the mid game trying to hard carry his team a lot of the time. So this is the first time we get to see Rookie really find true consistency with his team. I know a lot of people would be talking about when Rookie and Kakao was making it to Worlds, and like, sure, fine, whatever. I don't want to count that. So yeah, this is going to be a strong one for IG. Going on to the next series, of course, it's on the same day. LGD versus Jingdong. Now, for all you LPL viewers, I apologize. I mean, it depends on your view, on your point of view. This is when you really you don't bring a notepad. You don't bring a calculator. This is not when you come in to learn. This is when you bring in your couch. There's a Coke on the ground. You can't even see it on there. All right. This is when you bring in some snacks and you relax. You lay down on your couch and you just watch the games. Because you try your hardest not to get tilted if you're an analyst. Because both of these teams, they're kind of one-track minded in the sense that they just want to fight. Jingdong are a lot more brute forcey. Sure, they were kind of ramping up in the LPL summer split, but they were still really rough around the edges. They didn't give a damn about their side lane in the mid to late game. So they would just decide to hands off. Who cares about the bottom lane pushing in? We're not going to set up for it at all. We're just going to run towards the Baron. We're going to be running towards sieging top lane and looking for a dive. Doesn't matter how long we take to do it. So, I mean, Jingdong still had a lot of time to learn because they really needed it. And they would sweep some teams, not really, a lot of teams would kind of have to play towards Jingdong's style. And LGD can do that. LGD has better players. Better laners in the sense that you have Jinwoo in the top lane if he's playing. If it's Banana, then it's a different story in the top lane. You have the mid lane. Cool. I would say he's better than Doumbé in laning phase, 100%. You go towards the bottom lane. Immediately, Imp and PYL going up against Loken and Mao. Much better. Loken and Mao look towards their team fighting phase anyway, so they end up sacking lanes most of the time. So immediately, and of course we haven't really discussed Sinyi versus Amy. Amy's a stronger mechanical jungler and looking to apply pressure. That one's a closer one, and maybe Sinyi with more experience will look better. They just have the similar roles anyway, so I wonder which one of these junglers are going to be picking up Elise if it's open. And that's if. I just wonder what the hell kind of patch we're playing with. It makes no sense if it's previous patch. It feels like it needs to be preseason patch. I could be wrong on that one. It just feels really awkward. Yeah, this one I will hand off to LGD. I've already talked them up in the laning phase and in team fights. They have better setup in the mid game. There are still a lot of questionable moments with LGD. You really don't understand what they're trying to do, but we've seen their stronger play around Baron Nashor, and that's where it seems like the game is going to be decided. If we were to look at the stats, like the raw stats, LGD 4-2 over Jingdong throughout the year. Of course, people have seen this matchup a lot. In the Demacia Cup last time round, LGD smashed Jingdong, but it was just a really messy set. In the beginning of the split, same deal. If we were talking recency, then of course there was a 2-0 for Jingdong Gaming in the LPL summer. That was when they were starting to ramp up. That's what makes the series interesting, but it is what it is. Snake, this is an interesting one for the first series, is that Snake actually has a winning record over IG, 6-3, because Snake is a weird-ass team. Snake is a team that just take victories over larger teams. We've seen them do that before, and then there's no level of consistency. In fact, they just, after they beat a team above them, they just consistently lose to teams even with them, and that's how they play the game. And you can see their ceiling, but they very rarely hit that ceiling. So hopefully with the level of consistency they've now found with their roster, that could be something they look towards. It is a double bracket, but I still have IG taking the victory here. There's been a lot of hype around IG during the off season, during the play worlds, because they have been scrimming throughout with JackeyLove. That's a big asterisk, as well as that even though West and Megan have gotten better, JackeyLove is going to play. I'd be surprised if JackeyLove doesn't play. In third-party tournaments, IG will always bring out JackeyLove because the LPL and third-party tournaments don't have the same rules. Age restrictions are definitely just not the same thing. So remember in the last NEST, IG took the victory over LGD. They had the roster of, well, the same. Duke, Kid. They might play Kid this time around. Who knows? They still have him on the roster. Rookie, JackeyLove, and Megan. And that was a strong lane then, and that's going to be a strong lane now. The only difference is that JackeyLove can actually play with the team next LPL split. So now it feels like you can actually stick with this man, and there will be a natural build-up. You don't have to worry about putting experience in a player that's not going to play in the next split. So this is going to be a time for IG to showcase that they are strong, that they can take all those scrim rumors and then put them onto the table and take the victory in NEST and then bulldoze that one into, of course, Demacia Cup, because remember, first place does seed you in automatically into the Demacia Cup top 8. So let's see who takes the victory. Remember to tune in tomorrow to see who moves on into round 2 in the winner's side. And it doesn't matter if you lose, you're not completely out of the tournament. That just means you have to have the longer battle throughout the loser's bracket. Thank you, and see you then.